The Boston Red Sox are an absolute disaster right now. What exactly does this mean for Alex Cora's future with the organization?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's completely free. So make sure to tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but what a frustrating time to be a Red Sox fan. And I feel like frustrating is actually even undermining it a little bit. I mean, I'm angry with this team right now. They are not performing remotely close to the level of what it feels like their potential is. And the biggest frustration that comes with this is the fact that the front office seemingly doesn't care about making any changes. And that's what's maddening to me. And when you have a team that for the majority of the offseason, especially after they spent money and they went out and made some moves, is a team that people look at and say, wow, they could win their division and even win the American League pennant. And they are where they're at right now at the beginning of June. It's unexplainable and it's really frustrating and honestly unacceptable. And part of that blame falls on the manager with this Alex Cora. I'm going to be talking about him on today's show, as well as the same mistakes over and over again that the Red Sox continue to make and pitchers continuing to be recycled, and an exciting prospect that got called up to Triple-A. So something positive to take away from this and all of the frustration. But Alex Cora did place a lot of blame on himself after last night's game, where the Red Sox fell 4-3 in 10 innings against the Angels. Yet another one-run loss. That was the Red Sox 17th one-run loss of the season. And part of you wants to be like, wow, they're staying competitive in a lot of games and they're keeping them close. But how good is that really if they can't win those games? It literally doesn't matter how close the game is if they cannot close it out. And it's just so frustrating every time they end up in a one-run game. It really just feels like it's not going to happen. And there's no chance that they come back and win that game. And I really wish I didn't have to feel that way. But Alex Cora did take most of the blame for it. The Red Sox fell to 5 games below 500 after the loss. They are now 29-34. It's really unacceptable. You can place blame on a lot of different people, whether it's Craig Breslow for kind of whiffing on a few key additions this year and for mismanaging the IL that the Red Sox have, albeit very complicated. The players themselves need to actually step up and perform. The coaching staff around Alex Cora isn't really doing their jobs because they're failing to make adjustments. But then, of course, there is the manager. When your team looks really sloppy and they're not fixing anything, naturally, the manager gets the blame for that because he is at the top of the food chain here. He is a good overall manager. He's very personable with the players. He's a clubhouse guy and he really builds relationships with these guys. And I think that's something that he doesn't get enough credit for necessarily. And he truly wasn't dealt the best hand this season in terms of the lack of talent on the pitching staff as a whole. But he did straight up say, we keep making the same mistakes. We're not getting better. At one point, it has to be on me, I guess, right? I'm the manager, so I got to keep pushing them to be better. They're not getting better. So he's obviously understanding of the situation and recognizes that he is probably, in essence, at the top of the food chain when it comes to blame here, because you can't keep doing the same things over and over again and not make any changes and not explain to the team and show people what they can do moving forward to change it. He said, you get frustrated, but at one point it's okay, what are we going to do about it? What's going to change? Because we keep doing the same thing. Are we going to keep talking about 1-run losses? We have 17 or 18? It's the same thing. Is it effort? Is it preparation? Attention to detail? I have no idea. I watched that game and was like, wow, this is real. It's frustrating. So he's very frustrated with the situation. He went on to say routine ground balls for double plays. We don't turn. We throw to the wrong bases. We miss cutoff games. Pitcher fielding practices were horrible. There's a lot of bad right now. And honestly, I haven't heard Alex Cora that angry / frustrated with his team in a very long time. Usually he's always trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and says, we just have to be better. But I think last night's game was a true wake-up call for him that nothing's getting better. They're making the same mistakes time and time again. And he's realizing now, wow, I should be doing more on my end to help fix some of this and help this team to build confidence back. The Red Sox lead the majors with 53 errors, which is even worse than the Rockies, who we all know have been really putrid this year. The Red Sox in last night's game alone made 3 errors. So the errors keep compounding. And over the last few seasons, the Red Sox led the majors in errors, and their infield defense was supposed to fix itself with the errors this season. Obviously, Alex Bregman not being in the mix definitely does some damage for that. He is a good defender, and he was helping to turn some really clean double plays before he got hurt. So that's obviously something that I'll give them a pass on. But generally, you have Trevor Story, who's degressed defensively. You have Christian Campbell, who's been struggling defensively at second base. And then you have a platoon situation going on at first base. So not exactly the ideal situation for success defensively. And then you have your outfielders who really don't make as many mistakes, but they every once in a while do too. You can throw them in as well. Cedar Rafaela made a throwing error in last night's game from center field. So it all compounds, and it's all the same issues over and over again. So at what point do you blame the manager? Now, again, I've gone on record and said the blame should not solely be placed on Alex Cora, which is still 100% true because it's such a combination of a lot of different things. The one thing, though, I will say that I am holding Alex Cora accountable for is not really recognizing that this was an issue earlier. And even if he did, not being aggressive enough when it came to saying, all right, we really need to buckle down on this and we need to fix it. And I think to a fault, Alex Cora sometimes gives his players too much credit and puts too much trust in them all the time to the point where nothing's going to change because he's too loyal to certain players. He's afraid to pull guys out if they're struggling. He's afraid to say, okay, I'm going to bench Trevor Story because he's not producing on offense. I feel like that is something that if Alex Cora has gone wrong this season that has really impacted the team, that is the biggest thing. If you are the manager, you are supposed to be taking responsibility for your team. That is the role you're in, whether it's your fault or not. That's just kind of how it goes. And in this case, he did do that. And it almost feels like it is a turning point for the Red Sox because he's acknowledging it now and going on record saying at some point that has to be on me. So it does feel like a situation where if the Red Sox don't turn things around this season, they might not have a choice but to let Alex Cora go, even though they've already extended him. Craig Breslow has said they are committed to Alex Cora, but that could change. And I do think if the Red Sox don't get to the point where they are competing in the second half of the season, I think that's a real possibility that we don't see Alex Cora as the manager next season. So he took the blame, and guys are obviously getting frustrated. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about another reason why this Red Sox team just continues to stay in the same vicious cycle, not being able to pick up any momentum. So I've checked my bank account in the past and realized that I wasn't sure what happened to all my money, meaning I thought I had a lot more money in that account than I actually did. And that gets really scary because it showed that I wasn't keeping good enough track of what I was spending, and I was getting charged for things that I didn't even know I was getting charged for. That's where Monarch Money comes in. The great thing about Monarch Money is it's a budgeting app that's also a complete financial command center. You can actually track all of your accounts and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. So it helps to save money because it controls you and helps you to not go out and spend money on unnecessary things that you don't really need as much. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So the Red Sox lost again. And honestly, after the first game of the series against the Angels, I thought there was a chance that the Red Sox could come back and win this series because they were down 6-0 in game one and they stormed back to go down 6-5, ultimately ended up losing 7-6. Again, another 1-run loss, only to lose by 1 run again last night and lose the series. And now they're in jeopardy of getting swept when they have a tight turnaround because they have a day game today. And the biggest thing for me that I still am struggling with is why have they not made drastic changes to switch up this roster or switch up the coaching staff? Because we get to the point now where pitchers continue to be recycled. The Red Sox did make a few roster moves yesterday. They optioned Richard Fitz down to Triple-A Worcester. He pitched in game one of the series against the Angels, and he gave up 6 runs in the first inning before the Red Sox could even record an out. So he was all over the place, and he kind of got thrown back into the fire when he probably shouldn't have. He was still technically rehabbing, and the Red Sox completely bypassed Triple-A for him to rehab in, and he rejoined the major league team probably too prematurely. He probably should have had some more rehab outings first, and it was clear that he just didn't have it, and badly for him out there because that's a huge damper in confidence. And for him now, he probably does not feel good at all, and he actually admitted it after the game. I let my team down and didn't put them in a position to win tonight. So he's down in Worcester. And also Nick Birdie, who had been pitching really well in Triple-A Worcester, so the Red Sox gave him a shot with the major league team, was also placed on the injured list yesterday. So the Red Sox had to make 2 moves for pitchers. So what they did was they bought Cooper Criswell and Zach Kelly back up to the majors, both of which have been called up to the majors, gone back down to Triple-A, and kind of switched between the two. Both have struggled during their time in the majors. So those two got called back up. Zach Kelly actually threw in the Red Sox 4-3 Angels loss on Tuesday night. He threw 1 inning and he gave up 1 run, but it was unearned. He walked 1 and struck out 0. What happens is he gives up base traffic and then the Red Sox fold. And that's exactly what happened here. And I'm not saying just when he does this. It seems like when any of their pitchers do it, the Red Sox defense behind them doesn't exactly help. So he came in to pitch the 10th inning, which I already didn't like because when you have a ghost runner on second base and you're already starting the inning with a runner in scoring position, I'm not putting in the guy who is just getting called up from Triple-A, who has a history of struggling in the majors right when he gets called back up. That's definitely not a situation I'm putting him in. And what's tough about it is because Justin Slayton is on the injured list right now, it gets to the point where the Red Sox have to make ends meet and they have to throw guys in spots where you might not usually see them. I'm sure if Justin Slayton wasn't hurt, that would be his inning. But that's the thing is Alex Cora is kind of limited with options there. And Zach Kelly comes into the game and there's base traffic because he isn't super concise in the inning. And then there's a fielding error that, surprise, leads to the Angels scoring a run, ultimately. And the biggest problem that I had with the 10th inning in this game was that the Red Sox had the bases loaded against them at one point, and they went for a double play on a ground ball that was hit, and the run ended up scoring on that. The runner should not have even been on base ultimately because of the error, and that ended up justifying basically the fact that the run that Zach Kelly gave up was unearned instead of earned. But so it essentially went down as a double play and the run scored. But because the Red Sox have significantly struggled to score at all with runners in scoring position over the course of the season in general, I'm trying to throw the ball home there and getting the out there on the force play. I do see the argument for generally in that situation, you go for the double play because you want to get rid of the base traffic. And Alex Cora also said, I'm going for the double play every time there. But the problem with that is that we end up in a situation where, again, the Red Sox were playing from behind in the bottom of the 10th inning and they could not get the run in and the team lost. I think if you're in the 10th inning, when you know your team has a chance to walk it off in the bottom of the 10th, you go for the out at home there, and then you hope that your pitcher can get it together and not give up runs, because then if the Red Sox do go into the bottom of the 10th inning and they don't score, then okay, still they live to see another inning. So I did have a problem with that, but Zach Kelly wasn't overly sharp and it was a little bit tough to watch. He definitely looked a little bit better than I expected, but still not 100% to the point where I was happy seeing him waltz out there for the top of the 10th inning. So my problem with this is, instead of trying to be innovative and give new guys a chance, the Red Sox are continuously cycling through the same pitchers when somebody gets injured. And obviously there's a reason that Cooper Criswell and Zach Kelly have not been able to stick in the majors. And it's because they have had their fair share of struggles when they've been in the majors. And it's frustrating to see that and see the Red Sox say, okay, they're still struggling, they need to get sent back down, only for them to then get called back up and be the first ones in line when something goes wrong with the major league team. And it just frustrates me ultimately, because why are you even doing that then? If you feel like these two are guys who you're going to need when there's injuries, then you might as well just roll them out there on a regular basis. Or if you commit to saying, okay, they are AAA pitchers because they're not good enough to pitch in the majors, why continue to throw them out there when there are other options in AAA that you could give a chance to? And I don't know what the organization sees in these guys, Zach Kelly especially, because every opportunity that he has gotten in the majors this season has been a struggle for him. And that's another problem I have with this Red Sox team right now, is you could put as much blame on Alex Cora as you want to, but ultimately at the end of the day, everybody has to do their job, and that includes the players. And if the players aren't performing, then it falls on the front office to adapt and say, okay, we need to find an upgrade at this position. If our bullpen isn't performing, we can identify the guys in the pen that are struggling the most, and we need to do something else that puts our team in a better position to win. And that's something that I feel like Craig Breslow hasn't been as great about. Is yes, he'll make rosters and he'll say, okay, we need to put this guy in the majors and send this other guy down to AAA because he is struggling a little bit more. He can identify that and say, we know that, Josh Winkowski has had a rough go this year in the majors, so we're sending him down to AAA. But the problem is he'll commit to that, but it seems to be a short-term temporary thing, because then if somebody goes down with an injury or something, then he'll go right back to those same players. And it's like, all right, well, what is the mindset there? And why do we think that those guys are going to help this team win games now if they didn't help this team win games before? So that's something that if I had the chance, would love to pick Craig Breslow's brain on, is what is the deciding factors when it comes to who is going to get called up if somebody gets an injury, and why is it sometimes the same players over and over again? And I do get that he doesn't want to take the risk always on young and more inexperienced pitchers. But on the flip side of that, you can't know how they're going to perform in the majors until you give it a shot. And wouldn't giving somebody like that a shot be a better risk to take than calling up somebody who has historically struggled? Because why would you feel confident that that pitcher could help you win games? So in these instances moving forward, I would like to see Craig Breslow maybe give some of these younger guys a shot and say, hey, what do we have to lose at this point? We're under 500. We might very well be sellers at the trade deadline. So what should we do? Should we give these younger pitchers a shot to see what we have in the system? So we'll see how the Red Sox handle that. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about a prospect that was actually called up to the Woo Sox and made his mark in their game last night. If you work in the HVAC or electrical industry, SupplyHouse is the place for you because it's an easy-to-use website that's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get your job done right. It's the reliable way to order products online for any of those fields that you may be in. They have expert support and industry-leading service so that they make sure you always talk to a real person every single time. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. SupplyHouse is a great way to take advantage of your job if you're in an electrical field. My cousin is, and he takes full advantage. So I highly recommend that you do too. Another rough go for the Red Sox last night, and that's just becoming the story of every single day with this team that fails to find consistency and just can't string together a lot of wins. And it's just been really maddening to watch this team play this year. But on the flip side of that, the Red Sox do have some really exciting young talent like the Roman Anthonys of the world, who also actually hit a game-tying home run in the 9th inning for the Woo Sox last night, which was nice to see. And then Marcelo Meyer, and they have the password, Joe Stingson Garcia in Triple-A now, who has been raking there. But they also have a prospect named Blaze Jordan, who got his call-up from Double-A and made his debut last night for the Woo Sox, and he said it was a pretty cool surprise when he found out that he was getting called up. After not being in the Portland Sea Dogs starting lineup on Sunday during his team's final game of a 6-day road trip to Pennsylvania, the 22-year-old infielder received that news for which he had been waiting for 3 seasons, that he was heading to Triple-A Worcester as the latest recipient of a Red Sox promotion. He said, "I knew something was up, but it was one of those deals like you never know what's going to happen until it does happen." So it was a pretty cool surprise. And he ended up starting at third base for the Woo Sox on Tuesday. For parts of the past 3 seasons, he had kind of found himself in a little bit of a purgatory for sorts in Portland because he was riding the emotional wave of being an up-and-coming Sox prospect who felt somewhat stuck in Double-A because there didn't really feel like there was a path for him moving forward. After suffering a string of unfortunate injuries and going through his own self-documented struggles with mental health, he came out firing this season, batting .320 with 6 home runs and 37 RBIs in 44 games for the Sea Dogs, while also improving his chase rate and his ability to pull the ball for power. He also was on fire in the month of May, hitting .390 with 5 doubles, 6 home runs, and 24 RBIs. So he really turned it on last month. And he was named the Eastern League Player of the Week last week. So he had a lot going for him. And this promotion is so well-deserved. Woo Sox manager Chad Tracy, who I spoke with before the Woo Sox game last night, said that straight up. He said he deserves to be here. He's had just a phenomenal season so far in Portland. He specifically said his performance over the last month plus in Portland has been exceptional, and he's got over 750 some odd plate appearances down there. So when you see that level of consistency and performance and that many plate appearances, time to go up. So we're happy to have him. So he's really excited to have him. And another coach who's happy to see him is Iggy Suarez, the new Woo Sox defensive coach, who previously served as the manager for High A Greenville, where Blaze Jordan spent parts of 2 seasons seasons in 2022 and 2023. I spoke with Iggy also, and he said he's had a long journey for sure to be able to handle that stuff. It takes some time. I think he's dealt with a lot at a young age. Now look where he's at. He's in Triple-A here. And even again, seeing him on the first day, it feels like he's been here for months already. So that's a good sign to kind of feel that energy from him. And I'm excited for him to be here. And the other thing that Blaze mentioned was actually kind of funny because his family, who lives in Mississippi, was traveling to Portland to see him play. And the coincidences of that were just ironic, but they happened to be traveling to Portland. And he basically said, you have to take a detour to Worcester because I'm getting called up. And his dad was so excited. He was mowing his lawn and he found this out. And their travel plans were in place for Portland and they had to switch everything up to go to Worcester, but it was worth it for them. I actually spoke with his family briefly at the game last night. After the game, they were super nice and they're just super excited for him. He made his mark in the game too, for sure. He went 1 for 4 with a double, a walk, and 2 runs scored in his debut. The double was crushed to left field and he was just super excited about it and he's ready for the next challenge. And it just makes it one step closer to my ultimate goal of helping the big league team, is what he said. This kid has a great head on his shoulders, which is something I really noticed about him. Obviously, it was my first time meeting him, but I really liked the way that he carried himself with a huge sense of maturity and just was kind to everybody around him and was all smiles last night. And I just really appreciated having a nice conversation with him, where he just showed so much passion for this game. So I spoke with him after the game about how he felt. Take a listen to that.
How did it go today? How did you feel your Triple-A debut?
It was super fun. I was, had a little bit of nerves, but I feel like that's normal and everything. But I was really happy to be able to come out here and get a win, and it was pretty cool.
I know, definitely a good game for you to make your debut in, for sure. A really exciting one. What are you kind of hoping to work on and focus on primarily while you're up here?
The biggest thing is just staying with my approach. I feel like I did a really good job back in AA Portland, and I was drawing walks, getting the right pitches to hit. Tonight I felt like I was a little bit more aggressive. I think I was just a little bit amped up, maybe, so that might have been part of it. But it was one of those things, like, just trying to just stay with the process, and
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, what would you say is the biggest adjustment between going from AA to Triple-A?
The guys here, like a lot of these guys, they have some big league time. It's a lot of older guys, and there were some older guys down in Portland, but a lot of these guys, some of these guys have big league time and stuff. They're able to put the ball where they want, execute their plan, but you just have to have a good approach going into it, and then just to execute it.
So you could hear the excitement in Blaze's voice. Obviously, just so hyped to be in Triple-A because now he knows that it's the last level before he makes it, hopefully, to the majors one day. And one of the things that stood out to me when I was talking to him was how he was able to acknowledge, I was a little too aggressive at the plate tonight. I think I was just really amped up and excited to be here at Polar Park playing for the Woo Sox. That's definitely something that I'm going to work on moving forward. And he just wants to continue to work on his approach and getting better. And also when I asked him about Triple-A versus AA and him saying there's a lot of professional guys in this clubhouse, a lot of guys who have had major league experience. So those are nice guys for me to be able to learn from and talk to. And I think that's the benefit of being surrounded by a Triple-A baseball team. Because obviously in AA, you have guys who have professional experience in the majors, but not as much because Triple-A is that bridge to where if you get called up, you're likely in most cases coming from Triple-A. So now he's around guys who are either rehabbing with the Woo Sox that are on the major league team or guys who are in Triple-A right now, but have spent time in the majors in the past. And that's something that's going to be huge for him as he continues to learn and continues to get better as a baseball player. And that's something that I always like about this Red Sox organization is they always push for the veterans to serve as good mentors to the newer guys who are coming up. And you can tell just from the way that Blaze Jordan carries himself that he's eager to learn. He's eager to continue to get better, and he wants to be somebody who can contribute to his team no matter what. And one thing that he is going to have an advantage with is that he has experience playing both corner and field positions. So if he does eventually get called up to the Red Sox, it'll give them options about where he could play. And because he is versatile in that manner, it could allow him the opportunity to be called up earlier because of the fact that the chances of a spot opening up is higher if you can play more than one position. So I definitely feel like he's the type of player who we could see have a shot at the major league level for the Red Sox. The problem is just where exactly are they going to play him? Because right now they have a crowded infield. There's no definitive first baseman because they're having Abraham Toro and Romy Gonzalez platoon in that spot, and also Toro and Marcelo Meyer platooning at third base. So there isn't really a defined place for Jordan to play right now. But I think the Red Sox are really ready to see what he can do in Triple-A. He more than proved himself in Portland with the Sea Dogs. And now it's time for him to be in the Woo Sox lineup every day and really crush baseballs and just really show what he can do. He definitely still tends to chase some pitches, I would say, that are out of the strike zone. But that's something that he can continue to work on in Worcester and learn. And I'm just so excited to see him go out there and do big things for the Red Sox organization. And it really brings to light how exciting the up-and-coming talent is for Boston. And I know Christian Campbell has had a rough go ever since his hot streak to start the season in April. So there may be a chance that the Red Sox decide he should come back down to Triple-A and work on some things before he gets called back up. But overall, you have to be really excited about the young talent that the Red Sox system has. The future is bright for sure. And even if the Red Sox don't end up contending this year, nobody can take away the excitement of those prospects that the Red Sox have coming up. So hopefully you can take solace in the fact that the Red Sox do have a future, and I'm very excited for it. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is great because it goes around the horn and talks about every game that took place that night. So rather than you having to rely on Googling everything to catch up on what happened in other games, you can utilize this show for just that. So check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. Like I always say, and I know it gets old, especially right now because this team is not giving us a reason to, but try to keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.